Hi again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Next Chapter, a podcast featuring alumni from the College of Fine Arts and Communication here at Western Illinois University. My name is Buzz Hoon. I'm the interim dean for the college. I'm also the host of the podcast. In each episode, we feature an alumnus from one of our programs in the college. Today, I'm talking with Erika Davis, who received 2 degrees from WIU, a bachelor's degree in communication in 2016, and then followed that up with a master's degree in communication in 2018. So Erika, welcome to the podcast, and hopefully I got that right.
You did. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Well, we are so glad to have you on and feature your story. So please let everybody know where you are and what's going on in your life.
I am currently a communications associate, senior communications associate for a company called TAWANI Enterprises. The easiest way to explain that company is it is a wealth management organization that has a bunch of different businesses under one umbrella. So I am currently doing PR, so pitching to the media, scheduling media interviews, writing press releases, doing blogs, working out marketing management plans because we got a couple of new businesses going on, and tons other. I could go on and on and on, but I'm not going to do that. But I just started here in August, and it's been great. It's been really fun, and it's been a challenge to work with so many different businesses and try to implement new ideas.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about the current job here as we move along, but I find it's amazing to look at you. You're so young and to think you're a senior anything, but congratulations on that. We'll get into your wonderful career and all the things that you've done since you left WIU, but let's go back in time. Let's talk about growing up, because I always like to think about what kind of things influence a young person along the way, whether it's the community that they grow up in, the family that they're around, other things, maybe church or school, whatever it may be. What kind of things early on do you think were impacting you and made you into the person you are today?
I would have to contribute that or attribute that to family, solely family. I come from a family where everyone went to college. So the bar was set very high for me, let's say that. I think when I think of where I am in my career today, a lot of it has to do with high school. My particular high school, which was Thornwood High School in South Holland, Illinois, they forced us to do a 4-year senior project. The first year, we had to come up with exactly what we wanted to do with our life, what we go to school for. After that, we had to do like a lot of research, working with mentors and people that we could follow in the field that we wanted to be in. And that was a lot for a high schooler. Like,
Yeah,
high schoolers aren't thinking about, their career. They're thinking about just having fun at that time.
right.
And then you had to do a senior project. So I had to stand in front of a committee and say what I wanted to do with my life and to actually build a plan. How long would it take? How much money would you make? Those things were tough to come up with. Writing for me has always been a passion. So when I was in high school, I was editor-in-chief of the school newspaper. It's a no-brainer when it comes to writing that I love it. So and then I have family who like pushed me out there a little bit more. Like as a child, at 10 years old, I found my love for writing. And that was because I was into poetry. And I was always going to my big sister and like, can you read this for me? And she's like, I am so tired of you. But it was fun for me. And I just kind of kept it up. Even now, I am still like writing short stories and books and poetry. So it just all kind of tied into my career today. But as far as family, they were headstrong on college. I think at one point I said I wanted to go to like the military or something. They were like, absolutely not. So it's been great to have a support team like them.
Yeah, when you mentioned that the creative talent that's sort of naturally coming out and showing itself like that, a lot of times it does take somebody to say and to give you some encouragement along the way and to and try to find ways to encourage you to move along in that manner. And it's great that you had even the sister an older sister, and I know how older sisters can be.
Yeah. My brother lucked up because we're all 7 years apart. So my brother is 14 years older than me. So by the time I got, to a good age, he was already out the house. So he kind of lucked up and didn't get a chance to hear my nagging.
That's terrific. So when, as you said, when you're in high school, you're deciding that you have that, which I think is just amazing. I think that's a great thing. Although, as an 18-year-old, at that period of time to say, what are you going to do for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
It's a little hard to imagine that you're really doing that, but it's amazing that you ended up following that path that you thought you were going to be destined for. So that's really cool. Tell us about coming to WIU then.
WIU was not a first pick. I'm honest about that, but I honestly didn't know where I wanted to go. I had got into Mizzou, which is like a top school for journalism. I got into Hampton University in Virginia. I got into a couple of other schools, but honestly, I think like I said, when you're 18, it's like these are decisions that can shape your future and shape your life. And so I got a call one day when I was getting my hair done from one of the WIU recruiters, and they were like, "Hey, where are you going?" And it was literally like 2 weeks before the last meeting before school, the orientation. And so I was like, I don't know, like, where do I go? And so they gave me some information, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to Western Illinois University. And it was not a bad decision. I do not regret it.
So what are your early memories of you must have been in the dorms and trying to find your identity, find where you are among all these other new people that are you're facing? What do you remember from those early days?
Being nervous, being scared, at that time, North Quad was open. So Tanner Hall was where I stayed. It was overwhelming being around so many different people. You're put in a hall with freshmen, and it's like everybody has different backgrounds, different majors, different things they're into, different personalities. Having a roommate that I had never met before, like it was really, really overwhelming. But I will say one thing, the staff, all of the RAs and TAs and things of that nature, they were really welcoming. Like they wanted you to feel involved. I remember there was a meeting in, I can't think of the hall right now, but it's where they play basketball at.
Western Hall, yeah.
Yep. And it like sets you up as if you were about to graduate. That's really what it felt like, was like a pre-graduation, like showing you what your world could look like in 4 years or however long it took for you to, finish your degree. And it gave me confidence, being away from home for the first time, 3.5 hours away, even though that's not that bad. It just puts you into this mindset that, yes, you can do it. And that really helped me out.
And I'm sure you found some friends along the way.
Yeah, I did. I went ahead and joined some organizations. So I was a part of the Western Illinois University newspaper. I was a part of public relations organization. Before it was Public Relations Student Society of America, but then the advisor left. So it became not a national organization anymore. It became just a local organization. And then during my junior year, I actually, myself and 9 other women chartered National Association of Colored Women's Club. So I met majority of my friends through those organizations, but also in class, you naturally gravitate towards people, especially with those group projects, which are always bittersweet. So I did have friends, and we were able to kind of encourage each other during our hard times, because let's be honest, those happen.
Yeah, you mentioned when you wrote to me that you were very selective, and you made decisions about how you were going to dedicate your time, because you knew it was going to be limited to things that you felt were going to be productive for you.
Yeah.
And I think that was so wise for a young person to make that decision.
Yeah. Once again, it goes back to having siblings that have been to college. All they can do is offer, what works in the real world, which is right after college. You're stepping right into the real world, and there are no lapse in those, no relapse in those. So I did talked to them and they were like, everything you do, every organization, every mentor that you run into, every teacher or professor, TA, everybody that you meet, you need to make an impact on. Like you just have to, because those people are going to influence you. They're going to impact you with different information. And it's relevant for what you need to do. So when looking for what organizations I wanted to be a part of, I needed to make sure that it was going to enhance my skills of being a public relations professional.
So smart, Erika. And I tell you, from your interaction, I didn't know you personally when you were here, but everybody that did over in the communication department, they all said, a few things about you that for instance, they said she was very involved in a lot of different things, and she was terrific. And they all made, they all thought, she made us smile, so it was such a positive reaction to your presence over there in Memorial Hall. It must have been, when you think back, some of the times that you had classes and things along the way, you were again building the tool belt to prepare you for your next journey.
Yeah. Jennifer Grimm, love her, love her. But she was my advisor. And then when I went to graduate school, I did an assistantship with her. And so I got a chance to know her. And it's always helpful to know your advisor, because those are the people who obviously make your class schedule. But that's also the person that's going to be able to kind of guide you through and make sure that you're on the right path. And in so many ways, she was like a therapist, because there were times that I'm like, I am losing it. I'm losing it. I can't do this. And she sat me down and was like, it's okay, Erika, just calm down. Really, everybody in the communications department was like that. I don't think I had a negative experience with anybody, honestly. It was just really smooth sailing. Everybody was extremely supportive.
Well, you definitely were memorable. But what kind of things do you, remember doing while you were over there? What, any particular classes that were always be a favorite, or teachers or students that you were interacting with?
Yeah, Lisa Mixo, her interpersonal class was very useful. I will say it was hard. The tests are extremely hard. I don't think I ever, to be honest, got above maybe a C, but she was there to encourage that even though it's hard, this class seems like it's easy because we're interpersonal with people every day. It's not that simple. Like that's the beauty in studying communication. What you think you really don't. And that was something she kind of stressed out pretty heavily. I'm trying to think of my favorite. So that would be my favorite undergrad class. But actually in graduate school, I did, what was it called? It was a course from Josh. I am trying to think of the name and it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it, but during that we did it was a class that was unlike any other. And it was forcing us to really find ourselves and find the importance of what you wanted to do. And so that to me it meant a lot, because communications, when you're studying it in graduate school, you have to really apply it to what you want to do, because it's so broad and so general. So to be able to have a professor that really was like, you know what, you need to figure out exactly what it is and how to, connect communication to whatever field you want. It was really good.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Erika, while you were in those classes, did you get more out of classes that you that you weren't prepared? I mean, in terms of you didn't think you would enjoy as much as another class, where all of a sudden it's like this new material, things that are making you grow in different ways that you didn't anticipate. Were those classes that probably benefited you more?
I think they did. I think for the most part it did. I think what the hard part in answering that question is, obviously I took undergrad in communications and then I did graduate school in communication. Really what we were taught going into grad school was forget everything you learned in undergrad. So it's like, wait, I did interpersonal there and now I'm doing interpersonal here and it's not the same. And so those readings were intense, and they were like nothing that I had ever experienced before. And to know, like I said, what I learned there versus then, it made me a better writer. It made me a better student, but it was difficult because I had just did 4 years of learning all of this stuff, not to even apply it to graduate school.
Yeah, that's the first thing I try to tell our undergraduates when they're thinking about graduate school is it's not a fifth year of undergraduate.
Mm-hmm.
This is all new. This is going to
is.
make you grow in a different way.
It is. And it's difficult. It really is, because you want to relapse in a way, and you want to go back and like, hey, I learned that speaking this way is how you do it. And it's like, no. There's a different culture and a different curriculum. So it was tough.
Now, you mentioned that you helped out with Jennifer in when she's the advisor here in communication, but you also spent some time over at University Relations.
Mm-hmm.
And so how was that?
I did an internship with them twice. So I did it in undergrad, and in undergrad, it was kind of fun to get a chance to know all of the different departments, because they are the PR for the entire school. And so I got a chance to, like, my favorite project over there was, it was coming on like the ROTC's anniversary, 100-year anniversary or something of that nature. And I wrote a long news release on it. And it was like so interesting to talk to all of these different people and not know nothing that they're talking about, because obviously I don't do any of that, but also to go to the library, and like the librarians were amazing, because they literally sat me down and had like 50 different books in front of me. I remember being at this really long table, and they were like, it's going to take you a couple of days. So we're just going to, make this your little designated spot. But to go through these books and learn about different majors and different things that people are interested in, and to talk to people and interview people, it was like they gave me the freedom. And that was something that was like extremely amazing, to be a college student running around campus, interviewing people and coming up with research, and then, doing press releases. I was doing like maybe 3 press releases in a 3-hour time span that I would be there for a day. So it was really, really great. And then not only that, I got a chance to do like video production, like learn that. So I loved it.
Yeah. And so all this way, you're building a portfolio of things that show what kind of work you can do.
Yeah.
And I think did you also spend some time at the Writing Center? Is that right?
Yeah. So my last year at Western, I had an assistantship with the Writing Center over in the library. And that was also interesting, because I got a chance to proofread and like make edits to people's paper. And you would think, like, if I'm not in their major, like I had a nursing student come to me, and they were like, I need help with this paper. And they're like, what is your major? And I'm like, communications. He's like, how are you going to understand, exactly how to, make my paper enhanced? And I was like, listen, it's not about that. It's about putting everything in so that the reader knows exactly what you're talking about without me knowing anything about the subject. My most intimidating, I think, experience with the Writing Center is when a professor came to me and asked me to edit one of her papers. I don't remember what exactly she was studying, but I just was like, you're a professor. Why do you need help? I don't understand this. So I got a chance to work with, because obviously it's open to not just Western students, but people in the entire Macomb community. So I got a chance to meet people, to like really work on my editing skills, because in editing somebody else's skills, you have to be up to date on APA and MLA and all of the different writing styles that there is out there.
That's interesting, as you getting ready to transition into the professional world there, Erika, that you are starting to get the idea that you have these set of skills that can translate to almost any area, that they have a need for what you can bring.
Yeah. I mean, writing is something that you're going to need in every field, but it goes beyond that. It goes communication and branding, which is, what my true interest is. It's all about how you brand yourself, not even just the company, but how you brand yourself. What energy you put out into the world, and just being able to have so many people in my space at a time. It just taught me how to manage that a little bit better.
Is that part of, I've really been interested by branding. Is it about knowing what your strengths are and identifying those strengths and then being able to communicate strengths to other people?
It's that, and it's about knowing where you want to go in
Okay.
life. That goes for a person and that goes for a company. Is what is your overall goal? And then how do you take those strengths and make it so that you can apply it to what your long-term, and not even just long-term, but short-term goals are. So I think that's really when I'm building plans and stuff, I start with, let's not focus on the right now. Let's focus on where you want to be. And then let's go into how we can maneuver different parts, how we can make things better, what things that we need to remove and, add in, and then we'll be okay.
Now I know why you got the title senior, because you sound like you're very wise. Let's
It's the
talk about that,
vision.
that first job when you graduated and left WIU. Your first position, I think, was with Appraisal Institute, right?
Yeah, so I accepted that position 2 weeks before I graduated, and everyone told me to take a break, but nope, right after graduation, the following week I was working.
No break for you.
No break for me. No break for me. So the Appraisal Institute is an organization that deals with certified appraisers under their designation. So when I say designations, I mean they have like their specific certificates for different appraisers, whether you're residential, commercial, all of the above. There, I did a lot more than I was prepared for. I did video editing, which I had never done before. I know I said that I, worked with video production and, that team when working with university relations, but I never had to edit a video on my own. And so that was like really difficult. I was doing ed cows, press releases, social media, research, pitching to the media, diversity, equity, and inclusion, working with our CEO. I mean, the list goes on of things that I did, but really when they kind of like dumped everything on me, it really helps me like multitask and like learn and teach myself. And like, it was a great experience, but it was a lot.
That's so, I first of all, I'm really amazed at your ability to face that challenge, because I think at some point in time, somebody might say, my first job, am I overwhelmed? Am I going to be able to meet the challenge? And you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was, that says a lot about you individually, about what kind of, again, when you go back to character,
Yeah.
that comes from the family, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I've always taken criticism very well, in my opinion. And I'm always the one, even in my current role, I ask, what is it that I haven't been exposed to yet? And that's exactly, I think that's what makes me stand out, or at least made me stand out at the Appraisal Institute, was because I, sat my manager down halfway throughout the year. We do like end of the year reviews, but I did like a mid-year one every year. And I'm like, hey, listen, what else can I get my feet wet in? Like, I need to know, because it's only going to build me as a person. And now I do that, even though I've only been in this position for 6 months. We do weekly meetings. I'm like, look, what else can I learn? Like, it's all a learning process. You have to remember that it's a learning process. You're always going to learn, even if you're in your career 20 plus years, there's always going to be something that you have to learn. You have to stay humble in that way.
I'm still impressed by you. I'm just going to say that out loud. So, because one of the things you mentioned to me is that a supervisor gave you some tough love, and you responded, not as many people might. It can damage and possibly end some careers, but you had a different response. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I didn't at first though.
Okay.
I had a very tough director, and coming right out of college, you don't really know what to expect. I mean, you see movies, you hear stories, people share their experiences, but it's nothing like when you actually get there and you're like, wow. So I was working on a press release, and our review process was that you would do the first draft, and then you would send it over to your supervisor, and then they would send it back to you, make the edits, it go back to your supervisor, and then the last person to see it was the director, unless it's like a quote or something that needed to be approved. Well, it was this particular press release that had already been reviewed twice, and it got sent to my director, and he sent a very nasty email in which so many words he said that he felt like I was not doing my job and that I did not know the purpose of this role. I then copied that message to my manager, and I think I responded back like, I'd like to sit down and, talk about my role a little bit more. I am fresh out of college, and I don't know what to, say, but I would like to sit down and talk a little bit about that. After that, reading that and copying my manager on it, I went to the bathroom and cried. Because I just felt like I had always got such good, positive feedback from people at Western. And even when I didn't get the best feedback, it always came as respectful. This email was a little bit more disrespectful. And I know you don't have to, care about emotions and things of that nature when you enter the corporate world, but that just wasn't my character. I would never send an email like that. The tone of it was terrible. And I remember coming back to my computer after I got it together. My supervisor called me into his office, and he's like, I don't agree. I do not agree with this email. I saw it, obviously I saw it twice. This is not your fault. And then he kind of explained that he does everybody in a company like that, even a CEO. So I was like, oh, so this is just my director being a jerk. But after that, it made me proofread even more. It made me take a step back and say, hey, how can I do this assignment different? And then it also made me, when I was unsure, I had no problem going to go knock on his door and saying, hey, let's talk about this, because I want to meet your expectations, and, I want to make sure that I'm doing things correctly. Now, unfortunately, he got laid off the following year, but that just goes to show his character. And then my supervisor stepped up as interim director, and it was a lot more smoother, and I got a lot more responsibility, and it was great.
Well, I think it's a great story for a young person that may be in school, that is going to go to their first job and have something like that happen, and think to themselves, it's not unusual for something like that to happen. And it is about your own response and how you will take that and then move on. And I think that it really shows a lot about you individually. So you then had this new job at, as you said, and it's a little bit different in terms of, you pointed out to me, it's the PR aspect is from the outside rather than the inside. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so at Appraisal Institute, I was doing inside, meaning inside PR, which is everything is done within the company. So if we needed to write a press release about an appraisal event, that was done by us and only us. And our topic was only appraisal and appraisal related topics. This company, it's more like external. So it is internal because we're all under the one umbrella of a company. However, we have so many different businesses. When you're doing outside PR, you typically work with a lot of business. I'll give you an example. Let's just say I was a part of an outside agency, and we work with hospitals, we work with restaurants, we work with auto shops, so you're getting that variety of different topics. So that's exactly how it is with this company. We have a publishing company, we have a hospitality sector, we have property management, we have a museum and library, and now we're building a firearms center. So with that, it's like I'm getting a chance to do PR for so many different brands that it feels like, I am working for an outside company, although we just have our inside PR company under TAWANI. And it's been great because I'm getting a variety of topics. So I'm not getting bored. Not that I was bored with Appraisal Institute, but with this, it's like I'm forced to think. what applies to our publishing brand definitely does not apply to our firearms center, and it's been kind of cool, to have my hands in a bunch of different things.
That's interesting that you see that. And what I was going to ask you is it challenging then to always have on the inverse of that is to say you always you have to come up with ideas and something different, because you can't always rely on the same type of things to work, for everyone.
Yeah, it is, because exactly what you said, what works for one company or one business doesn't work for the other. And it gets difficult because we're also in the process of rebranding a lot of our businesses. So it's now trying to figure out, hey, what can we do different? That's that vision that I was talking about. Let's look 5 years from now. Where do we want to be? How many people do we want clicking our website? Who do we want to talk to? Who do we want to appeal to? What's the new audience? So it is very difficult when you're working with that, but I have an amazing team. Like I have a very amazing team.
And so how, when you're working with those individuals, how do you think that what you've learned so far is, along both at WIU and just individually in your job, what kind of things have you learned that you think you're applying in terms of even just, as you said, respecting other people?
Organizing, for one. Like, grad school teaches you, I'm not going to say undergrad doesn't, but grad school definitely teaches you to organize on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
When you have 25-page papers and, crazy theses and meetings and things of that nature, you are taught to, or you're not even taught, you're forced to organize. So that's the biggest thing. Is so when I'm working with a business, it's organizing, where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. That's kind of like my priority, especially with public relations. Communication, obviously, is a big one. And I think when you graduate, you learn that people don't communicate like you. So now all of the things that I've learned as a communications major, I now have to apply that. Like, I can't be so aggressive. I can't be so passive aggressive, and you just have to figure out how to work with different personalities, because it's hard. It's really hard when you step out into the real world and you learn that the little kind of bubble that you're in at Western, you get used to who you're around and who you work with. Those aren't going to be the people that you're going to work with later. And then also dealing with all different age groups. Like, you're not just with college freshmen, sophomores, seniors, and juniors. You're with people who, maybe mom, dad age, and your age, and, your sister and brother. There is a lot of diversity that goes on. And I think that's also overwhelming. It's coming into an actual career where, and it's like that in every career, not just my field, but where you have to learn how to deal with everyone as a whole. It's hard, but it's a skill that you need.
Let me ask you this question, Erika. If you had to go back in time to talk to an 18-year-old Erika Davis and and she would say, what's it like? Is it all that you imagined, this field of public relations? Is it what you imagined it would have been like when you were 18?
No. No, as 18-year-old Erika, public relations for me was, still, because I was young, it's managing celebrities. It's following after, the next Michael Jordan and trying to figure out if his brand is correctly, or Nike, or, anything like that, even Chick-fil-A, like trying to figure out how we can brand them better. Mm-hmm. It is not like that. Not everything is going to be in the spotlight. And that's something else I've learned. I had to figure out what type of PR professional I wanted to become, because there's so many different kinds. Some of these businesses are extremely lucrative, and then you have businesses that are not so much the same. And so those are the businesses that I choose to work for, because you have to build them up so that they can become like Nike and Google and Amazon and companies like that, and it's a journey, and it's beauty in that journey.
Well, I think it's just an awesome story already. And you're such a young person still. I'm excited about the future for you. Erika, I always like to ask one of my last questions. What kind of recommendations do you have for students that might be a comm student, might be interested in public relations like you were?
Find a mentor. You get lost out there in the world. Like, find a mentor that can kind of keep you on track. Make those connections, and part of it is Jody from University Relations. That is my mentor. When I don't know what to do, I go back to her, because she taught me and helped me make a portfolio for myself. I'd say don't rush. That was something that, like, me and my friends, and I think every like college student is like, I can't wait to be done with, college.
Yeah.
Please don't say that. The real world is scary, it's tricky, and it comes with a whole lot of rules and guidelines. And I promise it is nothing like just staying at Western. I can't tell you how many friends of mine, we all say, like, if we could go back to, being broke in our college dorm, eating cafeteria food, or like all putting money in to, drink something and get some food, we would. We would. The joys of being stressed out all together, it seems like fun to me now. It seems like a lot of fun. Believe in yourself is the biggest thing. I put in my email to you. During my first year of grad school, I was pregnant. I came into grad school pregnant, and I set a goal that I would make sure that I achieved it at any cost, especially for my son. So that second semester, I had him in the middle of the school year. 3 weeks later, I was right back into it. I was right back into it, and I did not stop. Thesis and all, like when you have your different exit options, I chose the hardest one, which would be the thesis, because I wanted to challenge myself. And it was a lot. Looking back, it's crazy. But I say all of that to say, believe in yourself. If you tell yourself that you can do it, you will. Like, that's the reality of it. You are in control of your own thoughts. And then I think the last one that I'll say that is a strong point is be strategic, like I was. Find assistantships, find internships. It sucks because I have friends who got the college degree, but they didn't do internships and assistantships. So as a result, like, their career has kind of maneuvered from what they went to school for to something else, something that's less. And honestly, if you're going to pay all of this money for a degree, you need to come out and work in that field. Like, it's okay to maybe do a year, working somewhere until you try to figure it out. But honestly, do the internships, the assistantships, because it looks amazing on your resume. When I got accepted or hired for the Appraisal Institute, I already have 4 jobs that was in my field on my resume. So do it. It may cut from your summer, it might be extra stress, but do it, because I can't tell you enough that experience is only half the battle. You got to get the degree and you've got to get the experience.
Well, now after talking with you, Erika, I am not surprised why so many people said you should talk to Erika Davis for this podcast, because you were an amazing student, and we're very proud of where you are already. You're wise beyond your age. Let me just say that. And again, that's a great tribute to your family. So I say thank you for your time. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor, and any way I can, give back, I will. I definitely will.
And thanks to all those that are watching or listening to this episode. We'll continue to have alumni on from our college departments, and we hope that you continue to support all of our departments and schools here at Western Illinois University. So until the next episode, stay safe, take care, and God bless.